All right, so Friday Night Smackdown didn't really give us too much. I feel like the runaway home with it wasn't really over like yay, but it wasn't really boring either. Like we did get a bunch of matches more so than a few promos and stuff like that here and there. But so with that said, I was like, I'm just gonna talk about the stuff that I like more so than going bit by bit or necessarily bashing it or whatever. But the biggest thing I like is this whole Drew being this bloodline hunter. He basically being Van Helsing of the bloodline. He's over here being the supernatural for bloodline. Um, yeah, no, I was like, I like the fact that while he's over here fighting, the fact that he has to be like, I could beat your ass right now, Solo, or I can wait for you to beat Roman for me, and on my way of taking everybody out, then I'll come and get you. Which I think throws a real twist in the Ula Fala Tribal Combat match. Because anything can happen in a Tribal Combat match. Now you got to, and I was like, with Solo Bloodline, we'll see if Roman can get a crew back together or Drew takes him out, which comes to the part of who actually wins, and does Drew have a hand in that? And I think that makes that shit interesting. Um, I was like, but then we got that 6-man tag, and I will say I am glad that they're using the Apollo Crews in something. Like I've said before, that they if the bloodline really, and this goes for really any type of fact, kind of like bloodline, whether or with Judgment Day or the finals, like what you gotta do. I was just like, bloodline is just easier because they could just go on different shows like it's nothing and all this other stuff. Now I'm like, them infiltrating every part of whatever the show is helps out everybody. That's why I was so stagnant for like all those months for a long time, just because it's like, hey, you could have had Apollo Crews in this and having him do something. I had a video a while back of saying make Andrade. I was like totally different races into the bloodline mix. Like by him, I was like necessarily fighting Cody and just having a good match. We know he's gonna lose, it's fine. But if he would have been a good match, would have got him some momentum. I was like, put him in the bloodline, have him fight the bloodline. Now he's a good guy with momentum, put on good matches against these crazy dudes. Like I'm like, it's not that, it wasn't that difficult. I was like, I'm not even over here being like, yo, we need a right storyline and we need to get a stock out of it. I was like, nah, we just need to get something to the next pay-per-view, and that could have been it. Anyway, they're in this. Apollo Crews took the pin because of course he did. But still, he's involved. We'll see how all this goes. Cause I was like, LA Knight with Shinsuke, that I was like, we'll see how long he is fighting the bloodline while he also got Shinsuke over his back. Which I think they should have left out a little bit alone. I feel like they should have also had. I know I'm talking about all the good things, and I'm just over here just talking about the show. But I feel like Shinsuke should be sort of in between, where it's like he's not fighting the bloodline, but he's also like in the bloodline's way. I was like, he's like, yes, he's still sort of keeping up with LA Knight, but also you don't want LA Knight to just go back into the Shinsuke program because we just probably know that how that's gonna go. But another thing I will say is this whole. Now, I like the tag team match where we had Bianca and Naomi with Nia and Candice. I was sort of really hoping that Nia and Candice would win the titles, just so I would like, because I was like, what storyline could you build with Naomi losing them? But Naomi winning and earning as she wanted the title does also build to that, especially if one of them is the attacker, but also to the fact that when she does lose it for her, it can be easy to blame Naomi or something like that. Whereas like the whole Tiffany Nia thing, I was like, to be honest, it's now starting to get to the point where it's like, okay, you're just gonna flip Tiffany at this point. I was like, it was a good match, a good back and forth. Nia got busted wide open. Yeah, we're gonna sit in that one. You know what I'm saying? But for real, I was like, she was bleeding all over the place to the point that like you could see in the corner that somebody had to give her a towel, and that even like she tried to get in, and they made it look like a spot, but it really looked like the ref would just kind of like chill out for a minute or whatever. Because I was like, she got in, and then you could sort of see it, like you could see like legal it was or whatever. I was like, or maybe it wasn't a tag, maybe she was trying to get in for some interference. But at the same time, that was crazy after just hitting the turnbuckle spot, which sort of sucked because I was like, the blood was like, it was by accident, but it's almost like you would have wished it would have happened in like a match that it would have meant something instead of like this match where it just kind of get breezed off. You know, like she was fighting Rhea and Rhea headbutted her, or she headbutted Naomi earlier. Like that would have been crazy with that spot. But yeah, I was like, that's that whole thing over there. The Carmelo Hayes and Braun Strowman thing, I don't know if I'm a fan of, just because I'm just like, how is it gonna go? Obviously, I feel like Carmelo got the win versus Braun Strowman, so at some point, I feel like we're going to have like a hardcore DQ match, whatever you want to call it, just so that it gives Carmelo Hayes a extra advantage or whatever, because he's got a handicap right now. But at the same time, I really feel like Braun Strowman's going to win in the end. To be honest, he's going to stay being that monster. I was like, what does Carmelo get out of this if he wins or loses in this situation? You know, it's not like with this he's like now number one contender or something like that. Which, I mean, he should be, but I was like, I like both of them, and I like what Hayes is doing within this or whatever, playing into a character, but I just don't see. I don't necessarily know or like it in this situation, but hey, we got to see how this goes. It could be better. We didn't have no Chelsea Green on here, which I was like, I was like, as far as like wrestling with her title and stuff like that. So I think that's a little bit of a bumsy. Yeah, I was like, that was really about it. We didn't have nothing really on Cody. There was no Kevin. We had the Austin Waller effect with Braun Strowman, so that don't really matter. We did have Johnny Gargano with Alex Shelly, and weird of the crowd reaction, because to be honest, I thought the crowd was a little bit, and I was like, don't get me wrong, after the Bloodline match, they were really kind of dead until we got to basically Naomi and Nia match, which you got people, I was like, the difference is, in both of those matches, you got people that people can, like that are popular. Whereas everything else is just kind of like people like just kind of like, Johnny Gargano and Alex are like, yeah, you get it for your theme song, and then after that, even though they're doing like good moves and stuff like that, they're not really getting the people going, not being provocative. Yeah, so SmackDown was really just, man, I really think that it's going to be like this until we get to January 6th. I was like, Raw always got better potential than SmackDown. SmackDown sometimes be dragging their ass on stuff. Yeah, it was alright. It was an alright thing. But January 6th, gonna be a great day for wrestling. Anyway, that was SmackDown something. I don't know, it was recap, review, my thoughts, your thoughts, ideas. Let me know what you thinking or whatever. Because when I do my other video, I was like, guess what? Drew is going to make sure someone doesn't have power. Anyway, let me know what you think about the whole thing, or spin on something else. That's cool as well too. Anyway, till then, peace. I'm out.